2. They stack the line of scrimmage. There's Dom Hill. There he goes. Dom Hill 40. Dom Hill 30. Downhill Dom Hill. Touchdown. 61 yards.
Smoaky.com presents the Texas High School Football Show on 365 Sports. Brought to you by Peter Chevrolet.
Medlock, they fake it to him. James Keeper off the left side, breaks the tackle, into the secondary, skips away, and he will score. Touchdown, Duncanville.
Here's David Smoke.
A little bit of a different show today on this now week number 8 of the Texas high school football season. I'm David Smoke. This is the Smoaky.com and 365 Sports podcast, and we will feature Robinson football. Have a heck of a story, and their football coach, Chris Lancaster, who played college football at Clemson. He's coached in college. He's coached at high school football now in Central Texas since about 2009. He was at Baylor, Sam Houston State, Kentucky, and elsewhere. And his story and their story is they are having a great start to the season and have beaten a couple of really good teams. They play Conley in a very nice matchup in 4A Division II. Also, we will have a couple of highlights, and we'll start to intermix and put these in the opening segment when we get them. But let's start with the best wins from last week. And, of course, when you have 1,300 different schools in the UIL, plus all the private schools, TAPS, et cetera, TCIL, then you have all sorts of great wins. But these are the ones that kind of jumped out at me. Liberty Christian out of Argyle beating Plano Prestonwood, a block a field goal at the very end to win it 30-27, two very good teams in TAPS. Duncanville jumped on DeSoto early and won the game 42-20. If you beat Duncanville or you beat DeSoto, I don't care who you are, that's a great win. And Duncanville got back at DeSoto, who beat them last year. Kilgore opened the year with a win against Carthage, lost a 2-point game to Gilmer. Yes, I'll say it again, 4A football in East Texas at either level, Division I or Division II, is sick good. Kilgore beat the heck out of Chapel Hill. They've just not been able to kind of get going. 42-7, I'm talking about Chapel Hill. We know that in the end they will, but Kilgore sends a big-time mission statement and statement by beating the Bulldogs. Clint Fuller, the head coach, 42-7. Argyle, when I talk to coaches who have played them, or Salina, and what those schools do, Argyle beat Seguin out of Arlington 36-7. Shelbyville, what a great win. And yes, DJ Barnes talked to their head coach, Jared Wallace, and man, he's just unbelievable. May have had his best game, and he's had great games, and they have a really nice win against Garrison in 2A 43-42. Port Arthur Memorial with a 3-point win against Barbers Hill. That's a heck of a win. And then Grandview and Whitney, 45-41. We're going to mention a young man from Grandview in a minute. That, by the way, game ended on a 4th down goal line stop by Grandview to win that game against a good team out of Whitney. Now, Mart beat Wortham. And look at this video. So I was on the phone just a minute ago with Kevin Hoffman. Here's the video of the play as Mart has had problems with their kicking game. So DeMontrell Medlock, the quarterback, hands off to D'Angelo Rhodes, who then just turns around and heaves it over his head. Like, yes, he did that. Over his head. Nobody there. The receiver landed, hit wide open 2-point conversion. I'd never seen it before, but when I was speaking just a minute ago with Kevin Hoffman, the head coach at Mart, he goes, David, you may remember they had what is now the national record-setting kicker, all-time extra points made in a career. He graduated, and he said, we've tried to find anybody who can kick an extra point. Forget about a field goal, an extra point, and they just can't do it. So they started working on 4 or 5 different formations and 4 or 5 plays out of each formation. That play, they call it Big Papa. They had run 3 or 4 of the other alternate 2-point conversions. And again, DeMontrell Medlock, the quarterback, hands off to D'Angelo Rhodes, who then throws it over his head. Landon hitting wide open in the end zone. Guess who has to worry about that? Everybody that plays them. Okay, are they going to run that play or a play they ran 2 or 3 weeks ago? And Kevin Hoffman told me, the Mart coach, he saw this, that it was done back in the 80s. The 80s. And here he is There we go. We saw it on the YouTube clip. He actually went on Twitter and YouTube and probably Huddle and whatever else to find a way to give them an option to convert the two-point conversions. They just can't kick it. Then I got this from Palestine Westwood football coach Richard Bishop. This is Kavian Bryant on a throw to Cason Dial. This in a game against Crockett. Don't play right, throws it, and then one-handed grab by Cason Dial. What a nice play, just like reached up like a bear slapping salmon or whatever out of the river and grabbed at Cason Dial with a spectacular. Can we play that one more time, Garrett? This is Kavian Bryant, quarterback at Westwood. Westwood's putting up huge numbers. They beat Crockett 63-14. Here's Bryant, a little bit overthrown. Nope, Cason Dial, one-handed catch. Thank you to Tina Bryant, Kavian's mother, who put that up on Facebook and then converted it for us to be able to show you. Here are some of the individual games. I mentioned DJ Barnes at Shelbyville. He had 571 yards of total offense in that win against Garrison, 373 yards passing, one touchdown, ran for 198 yards and 4 touchdowns. Trip Basinger from Liberty Ilo threw for 201 yards and 2 scores. Also had a touchdown run and caught a touchdown in their win against Gladewater. I mentioned Bryant, the quarterback at Westwood, almost weekly, 314 yards passing, 6 touchdowns, ran for 98 yards. Here's an offensive lineman. We don't ever give them enough credit. None of this other stuff happens without them. Cameron Griffin, tackle from Lindale, had 16 knockdowns in a win against Palestine. Jaden Johnson does everything for New Diana. He had 5 catches, 128 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He had 13 yards rushing. He had 4 punt returns for nearly 200 yards. 2 of those were touchdowns. 6 tackles and batted away 4 passes in a win against West Russ. KJ Porter, running back at Newton, 36 carries, 286, 5 touchdowns in a win against Woodville. DeQuan Prevost, Liberty Ilo, we mentioned Basinger, the quarterback. He had a touchdown catch, a touchdown run, and also passed for a touchdown. There were about 3 or 4 players who scored in 3 different ways this past weekend. Union Grove quarterback Jace Roberts scored on a passing touchdown or threw a passing touchdown, also ran for a touchdown. But listen to these numbers: 10 tackles, 3 tackles behind the line of scrimmage, a sack, and he also had a 46-yard punt in a win against Ore City. Jet Taylor plays both ways for Grand Saline, 309 yards rushing, 5 scores, threw a touchdown pass, 6 tackles, knocked out a pass, and interception for a touchdown, had a kick return for 60 yards in a win against Edgewood. Tristan Tidrow, Elkhart, 6 touchdown passes, 8 tackles and 2 behind the line of scrimmage in a win against Buffalo. Longview's Kelvin Washington, remember that 380-plus 8-touchdown game against Rockwall? Followed up with 265 yards and 4 touchdowns in a win against Forney. Cotavious Whitaker from Lovelady, 300 yards rushing, 4 touchdowns against Overton. Raines linebacker Tylen Oates, 15 tackles, 6 tackles behind the line of scrimmage, an interception for a touchdown that tied the game and then beat Mount Vernon in overtime 42-35. Javon Towns of Kilgore had 8 tackles, an interception for 105 yards, a punt return for 60, caught 106 yards in passes and a touchdown in that route of Chapel Hill. Here's a couple of others. Blue Hubbard from Grandview, 8 catches, 180 yards, 2 touchdowns, 14 tackles, 3 quarterback pressures, and was a part of the 4th down stop at the goal line to beat and seal the game against Whitney. Brody Allen, quarterback at Academy, 233 yards passing, 2 scores, 85 yards rushing, 2 scores, the game-winning touchdown with 25 seconds left to beat Rockdale. Landry and Luke Sanderson. Landry's a freshman, Luke is a senior at Goldthwaite. They combined for 485 yards rushing, 6 touchdowns. Landry had 6 tackles. Luke had also 10 tackles, 2 tackles for losses, and a couple of quarterback pressures in a win against Frost. Bryson Steele, Marlin, one of the best defensive linemen in the area, in the state. 11 tackles, 4 tackles behind the line of scrimmage, a sack, and 3 quarterback pressures to beat Crawford. Crawford is winless this year. Winless. Mason Beal, Lexington, 149 yards, including a 90-yard kick return, 80-yard touchdown, also ran for a touchdown and passed for a touchdown. and they beat Thrall 70-7. In a game I witnessed, Lathan Wissington, the sophomore running back, saw glimpses of him last year. We've seen him a little bit starting to get more and more. He is a beast. He's a sophomore. Midway beat Temple 36-33. They stopped Lane Alexander and Landon Wissington, Lathan's brother, stopped Temple at the goal line on 3rd and 4th down as the defense did it. Then Midway drove 98 yards to score the game-winning points. Wissington ended up, this is a sophomore, Lathan Wissington, 39 carries, 253 yards in the game-winning touchdown. And Midway then stopped Orion Peoples on a 4th down and 3 at about their 40 to beat Temple 36-33. So those are some notes here in this opening segment. A couple of more when it comes to the UIL. Dr. Charles Breidup, I've known him for as long as he has been the executive director for the longest time at the UIL. 50 years of dedicated service, and he's retiring. I didn't always agree with some of the decisions the UIL made. I did not always agree with Dr. Charles Breidup, but the one thing I know about Dr. Breidup, Susan Elza, who's now at Nebraska, and even Bill Farney back in the day, they were doing what they thought was best for the state of Texas when it comes to running high school sports. Congratulations to Dr. Charles Breidup. Enjoy retirement. And then this, which is an obvious problem. You hear about the transfer portal in college football? High school football recruiting has been going on for 80 years. It's not like it's new, but it does seem as if, almost as if in college football, that the blue bloods are getting richer and richer and richer, and you're starting to see a lot of different programs adding as if it's the transfer portal in high school football. Paul Catalina, who's a co-host with me on 365 Sports with Craig Smoke in the afternoon, came from Florida, and he says that you should be able to play wherever you want. I understand that, but I don't think everything should just be free. I'm not one of those that everybody gets free health insurance or everybody gets free money or whatever. I think that we should try to figure things out, because you don't want to go have people who live in this country go without it, but I think you got to earn some of that too. But the transfer deal is happening more and more. I've seen it for teams that I cover, both in East Texas and Central Texas. We've seen it in all the major cities. It's becoming a little bit much, and the UIL now appears as if they're going to try to put their foot down, although I don't know how much they can curtail all of that. All right, coming up next, one of the most unique stories of a high school football coach anywhere in the state of Texas, Chris Lancaster of Robinson High School. He is next, then our elite games. This is the weekly statewide podcast, 365 Sports and Smoaky.com.
When you need power, performance, and head-turning style, you need Peters Chevrolet. Check out the 2024 Chevrolet Silverado. 1.9% for 36 months with discounts up to $10,000 off on custom crew cabs. 2024 Silverado prices starting at $36,995. Whether you work hard or play hard, take your pick out of the largest selection of new Chevrolets at Peters Chevrolet. Online at peterscars.net. Peters Chevrolet. Together, let's drive.
New arrivals just dropped at Barefoot Campus Outfitter in Waco. Looking for the best Baylor gear? Barefoot is the place to grab your gear. Game day polos, tees, tanks, caps, clear stadium bags, jewelry, and more. Barefoot Outfitters has all the essentials with unique campus apparel and offering comfortable garments and designs. Long-lasting images that people continue to enjoy wearing time and time again. Located right off I-35 on Spate, or shop at barefootcampusoutfitter.com and get free shipping on orders $75 or more. Go Bears!
Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Bird Colgin Ford. It's that time of year, it's football season. Bird Colgin Ford is a proud supporter of the best high school football right here in Central Texas. BK Ford is proud to sell the #1 selling truck in Texas, the F-Series truck, 47 years in a row. Come see the largest showroom in Texas and experience better at Bird Colgin Ford.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, specializing in diagnosing and treatment of any and all sport-related injuries. Celebrating over 2 decades of service to Central Texas, they tackle all surgical and non-surgical problems that arise from an active lifestyle. Trust the doctors that Baylor trusts. And when injuries sideline you, don't wait for Monday. Join us at 8:30 on Saturday morning for a post-game injury evaluation clinic. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine Orthopedics. We get you back in the game.
Where is the best beef in Texas? Your house. When you order from Texas Beef House and unleash the flavor of Texas-raised Wagyu. Texas Beef House now hosting twice monthly live auctions where you, the customer, set the cost of what you want to pay for ribeyes and New York strip, fillets, flat iron, brisket, tri-tip. So look online, TexasBeefHouse.com, and popping up will be the live auction dates coming up. Stay connected. It's TexasBeefHouse.com. From their pasture to your plate, twice monthly live auctions, TexasBeefHouse.com. One of the really nice stories around Central Texas, really in the state of Texas, the Rockets of Robinson are off to a red-hot start, and they have Conley coming up on the road at Mac People Stadium in a heck of a game in 4A Division II, and head coach Chris Lancaster joins us on the statewide high school football scoreboard and also podcast. You know what? You have one of the most unique stories of any high school football coach I've ever tried to interview, ever. I mean, one from when you played at a blue blood like Clemson to coaching in high school and coaching in college. Let me and our audience know about your recruitment from where you played high school football at Riverside Military Academy and the recruitment to play, what was it, Danny Ford at Clemson?
Yes, sir. Danny Ford was our head coach. Yeah.
Tell me, what was that recruitment like?
Well, you know, it started when I was a youngster going to camp there in the summers. And being from a military school, my quarterback and I, we attended football camps there. And, you know, back then camps were a week long. Hell, we'd make our bed. We'd put our shoes in order. We'd say yes, sir, no, sir, and just did all the right things, you know, to be noticed. And I could deep snap a little bit and kind of caught their eye deep snapping, and then got signed as a deep snapper, fullback. And so ended up being a fullback and played as a freshman, sophomore, junior, till I had a career-ending neck injury, and that's forced me into coaching. Yeah,
I saw a story when you mentioned that Coach Ford walked in and said, "Do you know what you can do, what you're going to do?" Was that like not a come to Jesus, but that was an eye-opening, if I can't play the game, I need to be a part of it in some other way?
Exactly. And, you know, as a youngster there and just watching those coaches and then just seeing their lifestyle and still enjoying the game of football, I guess I wasn't ready, you know, to go out in the real world and work for a living. So I wanted to coach, and they just kept me around. I had 2 more years left on my scholarship, and so that's what I did. And Coach Chuck Reedy was my position coach. He was a running back coach, coordinator there at Clemson. And then when Ford resigned, kind of the whole staff dispersed. Reedy came to Baylor, and he brought me as a graduate assistant coach, and that's kind of how I got in the door in this business.
So you were at Baylor, and I remember that, and I knew that. But then after that, when Chuck Reedy, what was it, the end of the 90s or whenever that was, or 2000, 90s, then he's out. And, of course, Baylor then after that started just a bad stretch of almost 2 decades. Then you got, what, did you go to Sam Houston and then eventually Kentucky? Tell me, because you got into college ball quite a bit, right?
Yeah, I spent 18 years total as a graduate assistant, student assistant, full-timer. I came to Baylor as a GA for 2 under Grant Taft with Chuck as the OC, then went back to Clemson where I had played. Ken Hatfield was currently the head coach there. He let me GA there for a season. And then Chuck gets elevated to the head coaching spot. So I came back as a full-time. I was 25 years old. He lasted 4 years. So when they got him, I resurfaced. I went down to Sam Houston State for 2. Then I jumped to McNeese State in Lake Charles, Louisiana for 2. Ended up at University of Kentucky under Guy Morris. Actually, Hal Mumme had hired me And a month later, he resigned or got fired. Then Guy got elevated. I worked for Guy for 2 years, and then we all came back to Baylor, and I lasted 4 more years. Usually before a year, they get the head coach, they make some changes, and I was one of them. And so I decided then and there I'm going to get back into high school or get into high school and stop all that jumping around and settle down. I live in Crawford, Texas now, and I find a high school that wants me, and very blessed to be here at Robinson High School.
Bruceville Eddy Academy,
yeah.
and now in your second year at Robinson. And
yes, sir.
So
I spent 6 years at Troy High School too as an offensive coordinator.
That's exactly right.
And really loved that school. And Ronnie Porter, the head coach I worked for, he's like a brother to me. And so I've been very blessed. Been in some good places and good people.
Isn't it interesting how life takes you different places? I was a military brat, so the government, the United States, Uncle Sam would tell my dad where he was going every 3 or 4 years, but I loved it. And coaching can be kind of that nomadic type life and journey. But sometimes you just get kind of worn out with that and you want to stay around in one particular place. But you've run the gamut. And Danny Ford, you mentioned Hatfield, Guy Morris, Hal Mummy, Grant Taff. My goodness, you've been able to have a lot of people affect your coaching philosophy.
No doubt. A lot of mentors. And I think the best thing I've done is watch and learn and then put together what I want to lead to these young men here at Robinson and anybody that I coach, and just the philosophy of the game of football. It's changed, but it really hasn't changed. It still goes back to doing things right and working hard and everything that we talk about day one in this profession. And so been blessed to be around a lot of great coaches and not only head coaches, but great assistant coaches. I've worked with a lot. Larry Fedora. I worked with Larry Fedora. I've worked with Andy McCollum. I can just name them on and on. Gene Chiswick, Robert McFarland, who was the head coach at Stephen F. and Austin. And so I've been Mike Gundy. I worked a year with Mike Gundy. I've been around a lot of good coaches, a lot of good people first, and that's what's the important thing. And hopefully I can do the right things and make sound decisions, learning from them, and just put a package together, a philosophy, and win a few games along the way.
Yeah, it's like marinating, isn't it? I use that word way too much. You marinate, and some of it soaks in, and some of it doesn't, and some of it you like a little bit more, and then you may go back and go, hey, no, I need a little bit more of that. I need you to text Mike Gundy. I'm not sure the last time you spoke with him, but he's one of only 3 coaches in the 16-team Big 12 that we have not had on our afternoon podcast on 365 Sports. And he's done a great job. I know they're struggling this year, so he may not be somebody that wants to talk much at all right now because they have had a tough year. Robinson has had a history. 99, they were 11-4. They were 10-4 in 93, 11-2 in 95. They were 12-3, that team that went to a state championship. I think it was, in 2006?
Yes, sir.
But it's been a while. And I know you still have a long way to go with Conley in that district and Chita Spring and La Vega and McGregor, et cetera. But what's it like right now with the start you guys have had, including the big win against Lorena?
Well, it's exciting, and again, it's a journey. It's a journey. And so it started way back, I guess, last year when I got hired. I was the 3rd coach, I think, in 3 years. So the first order of business was to get where these young men can believe in us as a coaching staff and trust us. There was a lot of different coaches come and go. And so we wanted to give some stability. I think we've done that. And we're starting to trust one another and give them a field house, a environment where they feel comfortable coming in. They know what to expect. They know how hard they're going to work. And they know that they're going to be cared for. And that's the most important thing, I think, in today's society with young people, with everything going on in society. They just need somebody they can trust. They always want to be worked hard. Don't kid yourself. Kids like the grind. They like discipline. Deep down, that's what a man needs. And so we provide that. But at the same token, we also provide the environment of we care for them. We check on their academics, their personal lives, their social life, making sure they're saying thank you and saying, Mom, I love you, and Dad, thank you for being there. I love you too. Grandparents, just being good young men. That's what I learned in the military school, and that's what we're going to preach here.
Yeah, you're. I don't know if that term old school. My goodness, I'm 65, and I have some of that in me. But we also can learn along the way to change a little bit. As someone that is old school, that has that fierce competitive, the way you played the game in high school and in college as well, things have changed, haven't they, Chris? And I know that that you want to discipline kids, but it's hard to do that these days. How much have you had to learn from your experiences with that?
Well, I'm always evolving as a coach. I can't do it the way my high school coach disciplined us, or the expectations, or Danny Ford, who played for Bear Bryant. We can't take him to Junction, Texas anymore. We can't, I have to change too, but still at the same thing, I have to get out of them and give them, you got to hold them to some standards too, but be flexible enough to understand what they're hearing daily from their home life and society and things of that nature. And so it's just evolving, and I can still be hard. I can still be demanding and loving, but I have to be flexible enough too to also understand their side of things. In today's world, you got to tell them why we touch the line when we run gassers, why we want to huddle up, when everybody else is no huddling. We just have to explain things, because back in our day, we did things because coach just said it. We didn't question nothing. Now they question everything. But if you just explain to them and take time and teach them the process, you can get what you need.
Chris, I'm going to ask you a question. It is, has it changed in a way because we cannot discipline the way we used to? And listen, again, I get how things have changed in many ways, and probably most of it has been for the better. But aren't they thirsty to be told or disciplined a little bit?
Yes, I really deep down believe that, but things are going to change, Smoke, because of the accommodations we make, the exceptions we make to include everybody and everything. And that's not just in athletics. It's in the academic buildings. It's in society. It's in everything. And, that can be a good thing too. But at the same token, go back to the military. When you train somebody to go give their life so we can have freedom, man, that's a hard job. And that does take discipline. That takes sometimes being hard, being truthful, and being and accepting the truth and reality of things. Sometimes it's not accepted to be late in the military, and then there's consequences. And we still have to remember there are still consequences. And sometimes society, we are doing away with the consequences or the retribution that might come along with making a mistake.
Chris Lancaster, the head coach at Robinson. They have Conley coming up. They're 5-1 this year. And he joins us on the statewide podcast show. This is a good football team. You've got dudes, and some coaches are better at others at sending in performances. I try to keep up with that because I'm on the Built for Tough nomination committee and also vote each week. Evan Moreno's had a couple of great games. There's one week I can't believe he didn't win it, but there's 1,200 to 1,400 schools that are all part of this overall, and then, of course, in each of the classifications in 4A. And then I told you, what was it? You and I guess yesterday, I said, man, you guys are good. Your quarterback's playing really well. Moreno's putting up huge numbers, which also means your offensive line's doing their job. What has been the difference this year with this football team after 5 and 6 a year ago?
Well, our young kids are growing up, but again, it goes back to, we take the word team and that first letter's T, and that goes back to trusting what we're here to do, and all of them trusting each other and learning how to play for one another and play as a family. I'm very big, Smokey, on brotherhood, and that's to me what a team sport's all about. And so everybody buying in, and then the bottom line is we do have athletes and we do have some size, but they're just coming in their own, and they're feeling they're comfortable in what we do, and they are providing a great snapshot of how you're supposed to do things. It starts up front. both sides of the football, offense and defensive line. That has never changed, and it won't unless we go to flag football. And so you've got to be able to dominate that line of scrimmage. And our guys have been able to do a great job with that, with the presence of a good quarterback. He's just a sophomore, Bryce McCurdy.
Mm-hmm.
He can spin it. And, our numbers, we're not having to throw it a lot because a lot of games we're getting into. And, the book says, run it out, run the ball out. We have doubled our production on explosive plays offensively. And they're coming from not just passing game, but run game. And we're talking about explosive plays, 20 yards or more. It's been very impressive. But here's the whole key of why I think we're winning. And it starts, with our defense. Offensively, we've turned it over 7 times in 6 games, but our defense has taken away 17. And so, we're plus 10 in the turnover battle. And you can go chart and this and that, but that's the big difference in a ball game, especially in this. And we're playing great field position. We complement each other, offense, defense, special teams. But the takeaway difference has really been leading us to the victory lane.
I don't care if you can't run the ball or throw the ball or stop the run or stop the pass. If you have a plus 10 turnover ratio, you're going to be winning games, and that's awesome.
Yep.
Now, the game that really kind of awakened me, I know you had that thriller early in the year against West. What was that, 3 overtime game?
Yep.
And Alvarado, who beat you, they also beat Conley. They've beaten, I think, everybody. They're explosive as they could possibly be this year. But it's when you beat Glenrose. Cliff Watkins has done a great job at that program. That was a nice win, the shootout win. Was there a point this season where, and you have to win close games, that gives you that chance. Was there a point this season when you think the light came on?
Yeah, I really think Alvarado, and we fumbled inside the 10 and we dropped a touchdown pass. But I think as a coaching staff, we kept preaching, guys, you're not a bad football team. You're good when you don't beat yourselves. And so, and we wanted to play that game, and we scheduled that game so we can get kicked in the teeth a little bit and try to see what we really have, a true snapshot. The first game against West, and no disrespect, I mean, we had a 2-touchdown lead. They came back. They did a tremendous job of scoring twice, and we got into overtime, and that was an eye-opener, and that put our backs against the wall, and we had to fight our way out of it. We had to travel for the first time to Caldwell, took care of business. We tried to beat ourselves on personal fouls and penalties. We just really wasn't clicking on all cylinders. And then the Alvarado game, man, I tell you what, he brought a ball club in here with a quarterback, a running back, 2 good-looking tight ends, a left guard big as our school building, and they are awesome. And we hung in there. And I didn't know how it was going to go at Glenrose. We changed a little bit things here and there on our defense to kind of put some pressure on the quarterback and knock his timing off. And then offensively, again, we spread it out. We threw it. We ran it. We were very balanced. And, I mean, we were tick for tack on scoring back and forth. And, man, our kids just kept believing and believing and believing. And at halftime, I could just see it in their eyes. Coach, we got this. And sure enough, they did. And that was a great turning point. Then we came home. We took care of business at homecoming like you're supposed to. And we had an open date. And then, I don't know if you know, but the rivalry between Robinson and Lorena, I mean, we're like 8 to 10 miles apart.
Mm-hmm.
It's vicious. I didn't know it was that serious. I mean, you're talking about social media, the Barstool accounts, this and that. I mean, just they want to fight and, the drop of a hat. And so I spent most of my time just keeping our kids focused on the job at hand, not getting emotionally too involved in that game. And let's go out there and do things. And so, and they're a good-looking team. They're a big team. They're young in some spots, and I think they're really they got a chance to be really good. And so, they've got a state championship behind their name.
Absolutely.
And the expectations is there. And you look at our district, La Vega got the state championship behind their name. So we're in a tough district. How it all balances out, I don't know yet. I don't focus on all that. I'm just, one day at a time. But again, we've got some talented kids here, and we've got good kids here that come from good mamas and daddies, and it's what's special right now. So hopefully we can keep doing the right things, David.
Chris, Robinson played for that state title in 2006, lost to a team. Liberty Ilo had a great run back during that time. So Robinson's played for one. McGregor has their history from back in the day.
Yep.
China Spring won back-to-back recently in that same district you're talking about.
That's right. China Spring.
Gatesville, when they had, Torrey and Henderson and whatever else. So it's a great story. How much did the Cuero by-district game, 24-3, the Gobblers, you talk about another team with a great lineage and tradition, how much did your players, underclassmen, feed off of that? Because 24-3, it's 21 points, but still, that's a big blue blood type program. How much did you use that in the offseason?
Oh, no doubt. Well, number one, that was our first round of playoffs last year, and it gave us an extra week of practice.
Sure.
And we let all our young people up. We did it I did it old Danny Ford style. I mean, that's what we don't know what the outcome's going to be. They were 1 in their district. We were 4. And so it doesn't matter. Let's get better and let's springboard this into next year. Our whole goal last year was get our seniors, since I was the third coach in 3 years for those seniors, get them in the playoffs. And so we did bring up some young kids, and we played some of them throughout the game. It was in a rainstorm, and we couldn't really do everything we wanted to do offensively. And but I was very proud of our kids, and that kind of catapulted us into the off season. But here, we expect our kids to play multiple sports, and we want them to, because we have to. We're just not blessed with 22 all football stars and then 10 basketball studs, baseball, and all that, and track and everything. So we have to play other sports, but yet keep in mind year round, we want to train these kids so they can be very multiple and be flexible and go from sport to sport. But the main thing is play for your school and represent Robinson. Let's keep a tradition going here.
Your athletic director, Lonnie Judd, who I've known for quite some time. Of course, he's been around this area. You guys used to, when he was at Moody, you were at Academy, had powerlifting meets, which is a huge part of it. He said, we both have a common philosophy. Both see the big picture, total program concept, being the same age, we thought very similar about everything when they were looking at who they're going to hire. Both love coaching, mentoring kids. He brings such an enthusiasm and love for the game that kids are all buying in.
Yeah, no doubt. And Lonnie's the best. And I wouldn't have came if it wasn't for Lonnie. And because I knew we had that relationship. We met in the early 90s when he was coaching. He was the OC at Midway, and I was just a young whippersnapper over there at Baylor. And we would share ideas. When I got fired, I would go to Midway, and Coach Bechtel, rest his soul. Mm-hmm. What a great man there. He would let me practice in front of the offensive staff when I was preparing for my interview for Ron Randleman at Sam Houston State. So I would go and talk about inside zone, power, three-step protection, all that stuff. I would practice, not knowing what my questions were going to be in that interview, to go down there and be the offensive line coach. So Lonnie had to listen to all that crap day in, day out, but it helped me get the job. And so I think we kind of knew each other thought the same way. And Lonnie's an old line coach in his heart. I'm an old fullback, was a line coach. And so we just think alike. And that's the blessing of it right now, And so, and be able to give all that wealth to these kids and have, two guys like that on the same campus, I think it's a tremendous asset for these youngsters, and that's what it's all about for these kids.
You were at Riverside Military Academy, and eventually you coached at your alma mater. Was that where you also got quite a bit? Was that one of those private school academy type discipline deals?
Yes, sir, it was. Yeah, it's now changed its name. They don't use the word military; they go on to preparatory.
Oh,
so
okay.
But they still wear the military uniform, so we're all up in arms as alumni on that. So that's a whole nother hour conversation, David. But
yeah,
I still think there's a need for it in our society. I mean, you can't. I mean, it's a winning track record. The military and the discipline, the structure, the team concept. That if somebody makes a mistake, we all suffer, and that's what we're flipping that mindset here, and that's why we're winning. I think is we're acting like a family, and every decision these kids make, I'm trying to educate them before you make that decision. How's it going to affect not just you and your family, but everybody at stake here, And so we can't afford to have a kid miss a game because of a silly mistake or flunking or this and that, not passing his grades or doing something out in the community that he's not supposed to. It just, we can't leave nobody behind, and we got to think like that. And so we do a good job. We practice early in the morning. They have to be here by 6 a.m. We're on the field at 6:20. Well, that's a struggle. That is a struggle. And so, especially when you got kids that can't drive, but we got to get it done. That's our athletic period's first period, and then it starts our day off right, kind of like the military. Get up, get it started, do your PT, and then go enjoy the rest of the day. And I think that's been the difference. It's just the overall, the expectation, and the kids buying in, believing in one another, and then us providing great leadership, and then hey, no, I ain't gonna lie about it. Having good athletes really, really helps.
Yeah. And you had those off-season summer workouts, success in 7-on-7 that helped launch some
no doubt.
some kids with confidence, young men with confidence. Now, I did not know this. Lonnie told me this, that entering, I guess, the draft or hoping that you would play professional football out of Clemson, you were on the NFL draft board at the fullback position, and were you actually rated higher than Syracuse's and former Cowboys battering ram Darryl Johnson?
I don't know about that. I couldn't play my senior year. I was just a guard in the backfield, David. So, and we had another fullback that was so much more athletic and talented than me, Tracy Johnson. We lost him a year or two ago due to a brain tumor, and he played 8 years in the league. I don't know if I would ever gone to the NFL. That's neither here nor there. That was my dream.
Sure.
And I was very lucky just to be at Clemson. That was really the only D1 school to offer me. But I think a lot of it was because of how I acted at camp, what they saw me. I mean, our home football games at military school, we didn't even have lights. We had to play at 3:30 in the afternoon on Fridays for home games. That's just the way it was. And so, I've been blessed. I've been around a lot of good people. I've had my mom and dad. I was the only child. People think you go to military school, you're being punished. No, it was a way to get to play college football or the NFL, because I grew up in the suburbs of Atlanta in those mid 70s, and it was changing then, and everything was just changing. We were coming off the Vietnam deal, the 60s, everything. It was just, the focus wasn't there. And I was probably ADD, ADHD, all those things that we face today. I didn't have medication. We had the board, we had the paddle, we had the switch, we had to go get a belt, son. I'll fix you. And the military school was just I could get a vision and see that. And I just took that same philosophy to Clemson. And I was probably a little bit more mature than the average freshman because of that. I spent 6 years in that academy and earned one of the highest ranks, second in command, and was blessed to have great football coaches, but mentors there. And I just took that same philosophy and I applied it to Clemson. And they could trust me. And Chuck Reed trusted me as a fullback. And Tracy and I, we rotated and all that, but I was more the blocker. And my neck gave out. And so I don't know if I would have, made it, but I wanted to. And if you just put me in the door, I'd make sure you could trust me, and I'd give you my all. And I think that's all we want out of kids, and that's all we can ask. If you're blessed enough with athletic ability, it'll happen. If not, that doesn't mean you're bad. There's a place for you, and we try to find that in all our kids here. Is we talk to them every day. What value can you bring to Robinson? What value, when you walk in this door, are you giving or are you draining or taking away? And so we want our kids to bring good value, and we'll find a place for them to be successful. And I think if you do that, nobody have a problem with you,
You mentioned Riverside Military Academy is now Preparatory Academy, and I don't like the fact that they changed that myself, and I didn't even go there. You coached there. How much did that affect your life when you no longer were coaching there?
How did it affect my life?
Yeah, I mean, you were there, and all of a sudden you weren't because you had the values of old school mentality, and things changed, and you obviously have had a great coaching career. Did that hurt you when you were no longer coaching there?
No, it didn't. You know, I came back several reasons. I remarried, and my wife is from Crawford, Texas, and she was homesick. And then my two daughters, my first marriage, lived here. So I needed to get back here to Texas. The academy was changing. I could see the direction that the Board of Trustees was going. And you know, David, I have this philosophy. If you're not happy, don't sit there and be miserable and make other people miserable.
Absolutely.
Pick your ball up and go play somewhere else. And because I don't want to have to change. And you know, and that's where I want these kids. I don't want them to have to change. I want them. That means they're 90 miles an hour and they're comfortable. And so when you feel uncomfortable, I don't like feeling uncomfortable. And I was just feeling a little bit uncomfortable the way it was heading. We had some great players there. I've coached. I mean, Offset, the rapper. I coached him.
Wow, really?
Yeah. Yeah. Evander Holyfield. I coached one of his young men, his son, one of his sons. Ewan was his name. There's an assistant strength coach up at Colorado, was my fullback. Went on to Furman and played 4 years at Furman for fullback. Tesso Uha, he's an assistant strength coach up now for Deion Sanders at Colorado. We had some great kids there and some great players. And went to the playoffs twice, and it was, you know, it was my dream job, I thought. But, you know, David, I came to Texas in 1990, and as an only child, this kind of becomes your home, Waco area. I feel very comfortable here in Waco, Texas, and I just do. This is, you know, since I was 1990. Shoot, I'm 50. I'm about to be 50. Well, be 58 here. No, I'm 57. Hell, I'm too old. But majority of my life has been here, off and on. You know, when you spend 10 years at the university, at Baylor University in this area, your network grows. You just know everybody, and I feel comfortable. And all my children are here, and they're all grown. I got one teaching over at McGregor. I got one at Oklahoma State, finishing her PhD. And then our baby girl is up in Dallas. She's doing the PT school up there. Got two of them married. And I've just been blessed. And my wife works up the road at L3. She's been there for years, except the 2 years that we were in Georgia. But when you make decisions, like you said, you were a military brat.
Yep.
And you're just drug along because of your parents. At some point, I needed to settle down so we could have, you know, kind of a central location. Our kids could be comfortable. And, you know, and things of that nature. So sometimes you got to make a decision what's best for the whole, not for the individual.
Yep.
And I think for the longest time, I had made decisions on what was best just for me and not for everybody. And so the older I get, I realize that, and I'm trying to educate these kids that the decisions we make, we got to make it what's best for everybody if we're a team. And this is not an individual sport. And so, you know, it goes with every position, you know, and sometimes the receivers, they're not catching the ball because we're running it. They can't get upset. You know, quarterback can't get upset if we're handing off. Running back, if we're not running the ball, we're throwing it, you're just pass blocking, you can't get upset. Defensively, if you're not the one always making the tackles, but if you're fitting in your gap and forcing the running back to go to somebody else's gap and you don't get the tackle, can't be selfish. You got to be – that's a team sport. And I think that's what I love about being part of the sport football is that it hasn't changed, and you can still educate these kids. And that's what we're in the education process, and that's what I love about doing this job.
Again, what a great story. Chris Lancaster, head coach at Robinson. Heck of a game coming up at Mac People Stadium at Conley. My last question, and I know you got to go, and we're up against the time too. So when's the next time that you think on a Friday night at some auditorium or somewhere where you and Lonnie Judd travel and you put on the wrestling outfits, the pro wrestling masks, and you guys go tag team on somebody?
I don't know. You know, our bodies aren't in great shape anymore. So, but
you're not gonna do a flying elbow from the turnbuckle or anything like that.
Yeah, I get teased a lot that I look like Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah, you do.
And I can't help my hair. I lost my hair, but Lonnie is a huge wrestling fan. I am too. And so I don't know. It'd be fun. I've kind of asked him, hey, you want to at a pep rally do a little skit where we get just get beat up. We can take it for the team, but I don't know if we could even bust a grape with the way we are, but we're gonna try.
I bet you could do that. He coached in college. Chris Lancaster, who played at Clemson, McNeese State, Sam Houston State, Kentucky, and Baylor. He's been in Texas at Troy, Bruceville Eddy Academy, and now Robinson. He's done a great job. They're 5-1. Chris, love the story. One of the unique stories of college football and high school football. Thanks for your time, and have a great rest of your season, okay?
Thanks, David. You too, buddy.
Chris Lancaster, head coach at Robinson with the Rockets, on the statewide high school football podcast.
When you need power, performance, and head-turning style, you need Peters Chevrolet. Check out the 2024 Chevrolet Silverado. 1.9% for 36 months with discounts up to $10,000 off on custom crew cabs. 2024 Silverado prices starting at $36,995. Whether you work hard or play hard, take your pick out of the largest selection of new Chevrolets at Peters Chevrolet. Online at peterscars.net. Peters Chevrolet. Together, let's drive.
El Conquistador Restaurants are a very proud sponsor of the Midway Panthers, have been owned and operated by the Gonzalez family since 1969. El Conquistador is recognized annually as a local favorite with their fast and friendly service. Dine in or order takeout and enjoy your favorite Tex-Mex items as well as several traditional menu items. Catering is also available with 3 locations to serve you: Waco, Belmead, and Hillsboro. The Gonzalez family thanks you in Waco and the surrounding area for your continued support of 55 years in business. Go Panthers!
Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Bird Colgin Ford. It's that time of year, it's football season. Bird Colgin Ford is a proud supporter of the best high school football right here in Central Texas. BK Ford is proud to sell the #1 selling truck in Texas, the F-Series truck, 47 years in a row. Come see the largest showroom in Texas and experience better at Bird Colgin Ford.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit Marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
We always wrap up each week with our high school podcast with the best games coming up this particular week. And of course, this is week number 8. So we have 11 weeks overall. Everybody plays their 10 games depending on if they have a 10-game schedule. And then, of course, a district is going on right now. Here are the best games in week number 8. We mentioned Liberty Christian with that win against Plano Prestonwood last week. This week, number 1 against number 2. Liberty Christian against Parish Episcopal in a great matchup. Without question, the highest-ranked game based on Jerry Forrest and Pigskin Prep and his also index. The black numbers, all of down the left side, are the favorites and by how much. The blue number on the right side is the combination of the ranking that Pigskin Prep puts together every week. It's amazing if you have not gone to that website, pigskinprep.com. There's Shiner and Falls City. You have Holy Cross and First Baptist Academy in a private school game from San Antonio to Dallas. Junction and Brackett. Also, Kilgore After that big one against Chapel Hill, turn around and they'll play Lindale, and heavy favorite to go to 5-2 or 6-2 on the year. New Diana, what a nice story that's been. Unbeaten. They play Troop. Sam Wells, the coach at Troop. They're very explosive. New Diana still a heavy favorite. The Eagles of New Diana with that one. Anna, they've played a brutal schedule. 3-3 will play Walnut Grove, one of the new schools in Prosper. Gallows Kimball and Carter, two back in the day inner-city Dallas schools that play each other as much as they can. Liberty Ilo, the Leopards, having a nice run at 5-1 against the Rabbits of Atlanta. I'll always remember a team back in the early 2000s, Atlanta. Ben Scharnberg was the head coach at Atlanta, and they had they won the state championship a couple of years, I think, in a row in track and field. And then the one year it all peaked for them. They won a state championship, and they beat Robinson in the state championship game. I believe it was Robinson at Rose Stadium, Trinity Mother Francis at the time, Rose Stadium in Tyler. I did the broadcast. Also, Bremont and Goldthwaite. Goldthwaite coming off that spanking of Crawford. There's Rice Consolidated and Industrial, Heritage and Seguin, Comanche and Sweetwater. That's a flip game. Pick 'em. Hampshire, Finette, Jasper, and then also Hooks and Dangerfield. Dangerfield had a rough start. Look at their record. Hooks 4-2. Robinson, who we will have Chris Lancaster from earlier in the show. This is why. 5-1. Conley 4-2. And then also Axtell and Italy, as the retired and former and no longer with us, the great legend and Butch Henry. David, it's Italy. It's like Goldthwaite instead of Goldthwaite. And so thank you. Again, these are the games, thanks to Jerry Forrest, our elite games of the week in week number 8. Thank you for your time today. Thanks to Robinson football coach Chris Lancaster. Also, thanks to Garrett Ross and our sponsors, including Peter Chevrolet out of Longview. I'm David Smoke. Have a great week number 8. Back next week, including Duncanville's Reggie Samples will join us and more. This is 365 Sports and Smoaky.com and our state high school football podcast. If you haven't, please like the show, subscribe to the show, and pass on the word. Have a great week. 3rd and 2. They stack the line of scrimmage. There's Dom Hill. There he goes. Dom Hill 40. Dom Hill 30. Downhill Dom Hill. Touchdown. 61 yards.
Smoaky.com presents the Texas High School Football Show on 365 Sports. Brought to you by Peter Chevrolet.
Medlock, they fake it to him. James Keeper off the left side, breaks the tackle, into the secondary, skips away, and he will score. Touchdown, Duncanville.
Here's David Smoke.